we go. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Hi, welcome. Thanks so much for coming. Sorry, we're starting just a couple minutes behind here. We're working out a few technology gremlins. You can go ahead and use the chat button to say hello if you'd like. We'd love to hear where you're from and what your name is. Go ahead and click on that chat button in the bottom of your screen. Make sure you select to everyone, all panelists and attendees, and then we can all see your message. Hi, Naomi. Great. This is a webinar format, so it's a little bit different than Zoom meetings that you may have attended. In this case, you'll just be able to see my head and my screen, and you'll be hearing from Karen. We are having a little bit of trouble with her video, so going to be talking to us from her home in the Twin Cities area. So Karen is with us, another Karen from Moorhead, Minnesota. Katie from Anchorage. Great to see everybody. It's Lon. Hi, Lon. Lon's up the hill here in Grand Marais. It is a gorgeous fall day here in Grand Marais. It is peak fall colors. I hope I'm not crushing anybody's dreams. If you're coming up this weekend, it's going to be just incredible. The poplars are all yellow. The maples are oranges and red, and the lake is extremely sparkly, I would say. So great. We'll just give everybody a couple of minutes here to arrive. I see Debbie is with us from the Minnesota Basket Weavers Guild. Great. Karen from Moorhead, we mentioned that. Awesome. Yeah. And in that chat function, you can feel free. Oh, there's Karen. Karen, we can see you now.
Ah, wonderful. Well, I've got my tablet now, so.
Great.
Hey.
Maybe find a place to set it down so you can hold your baskets up.
Yeah, I gotta get my rack up here so you can see me and it's not showing.
Perfect. Karen spent some time working all the kinks out yesterday, and then we're not sure why, but some of the kinks reoccurred this morning.
It was great yesterday, but hello, technology. And I don't see myself in a big screen. Is that okay?
That is okay. We can see you, and I'll make sure that the participants can see you too.
Okay, I will.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Many of you I have met. My name's Jessa Frost. I'm the program director at North House Folk School, and it's a real pleasure to interact with you all a little bit on Zoom. This is Basket Week here at North House. And for the last couple of years, that has meant that we've had a whole series of basket classes, which is so fun. Typically at North House, we have about 5 to 8 courses happening at once, and they are all in different craft areas. So there might be sausage makers and timber framers and basket makers and weavers and somebody else felting and someone else learning how to flint knap. But a few weeks of the year, we take a minute and we bring together people who are all working on very similar crafts. So we have a fiber week in February, a wood week in March, and a basket week in, it's varied a little bit, August, September. And we had it all planned for this year, and then all the things happened. And as a result, we're having just 2 basket classes on campus. One is going on right now. It's a Red Osier Dogwood class with Tina Fungholder. And then another class this weekend with Beth Homa-Kraus, which will be in birch bark weaving. But we wanted to continue to connect basket makers to North House and to be able to kind of share some of the incredible content that we had anticipated sharing on campus. And so we're doing a series of videos and webinars. So hopefully you were able to catch, we've released a video on Monday and one on Tuesday, one about basswood bark and another with one of our basket makers, April Stone, about her black ash work. And today, we're excited to have Karen Rognsvoog with us for a discussion of natural dye use in basket materials, which is hopefully what you were all anticipating. Tomorrow's Lunch and Learn webinar will be with Svetlana Koroneva, who is a highly accomplished Russian birch bark weaver. She'll be joining us from her home in northern Russia. So please say a prayer to the technology gods. But it'll be late in the evening there, but lunchtime here, noon, same time. And then on Friday, we'll be doing a webinar with Stine Madsen from Denmark. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up for those, I highly encourage you to. And if you are friends with other basket makers, let them know. They're really cool opportunities that you can experience from the comfort of your own home or work or wherever you are. So couple just details about Zoom webinars. These are different from meetings. So you only see my head and Karen's head and not each other. So you can feel free to eat your lunch. At the bottom of your screen, you've got some buttons. There's a button that says Q&A and a button that says chat. And if you have a question at any point during the presentation, you can use either of those functions to put your question in, and we'll make sure to answer. We're going to take questions as we go. This is pretty informal, so don't feel like you need to wait. If you have a question, by all means, just go ahead and enter it. So I think that's everything I needed to say. I'm going to stay on screen, but I'm going to, so in order to see what Karen is doing, you'll want to use your mouse over the little dots that show up in the upper, should show up in the upper right-hand corner of her image. And if you select pin video, she should be the main image that shows up. So it's my pleasure to introduce Karen Rognsvoog, who's been teaching at North House for over a decade, primarily teaching natural dyes and other surface design work. And is one of my favorite things about Karen is that whenever she comes to North House, she has some new experiment she's been running. And she says, Jessa, you have to see this. I used fill in the blank to dye, fill in the blank. And that spark of creativity and curiosity is one of the things, as a hallmark of a folk school instructor, and Karen really exhibits that. And so in the last couple of years, I've gotten the opportunity to see a lot of beautiful basket making materials that Karen's been working on. And so I'm excited for her to be able to share that work with you. Thanks, Karen, it's all you.
All right, thank you, Jessa, for your good words. And yeah, I've been coming to join audio for, I don't know, for probably over 10 years. I think my first experience there was when I went there to see a boat show, and I think it was Scott was he the program coordinator at that time. he was pre-Jessa, so whatever. I think his name was Scott. Anyway, he's the one that I talked to about doing a natural plant dye class. He seemed excited at the time. And again, that was a long time ago. And like Jessa said, now I do natural plant dyes. I do black printing on fabric for the fiber retreat, which I hope will come off this next winter. We'll see. And doing this new thing with the basket stuff. One thing I wanted to credit, and Tina is the one that sort of put the bug in my ear about dyeing basket materials. And I have a little bit here to show the very first experiment dyeing basket materials. So I want to make sure she gets the credit for having given me the impetus to try and fool around and mess with this stuff. So I want to thank her for that. And I'd like to talk a little bit about, I mean, those of you that are basket weavers that are looking out there, a few things that don't work. And what doesn't work are things like pine needles. And somewhere I have some pine needles I can show you. Things like this, pine needles and reeds from like cattail reeds. They don't work for dyeing. And the reason being, at least that I discovered, they have some kind of a surface on them, so you can't penetrate the fibers within. I've tried looking about in swamps and gathering myself reeds, and for some reason or other, there's some kind of a slippery surface on something on it that limits the colors to go into the reed. So you won't see any of my samples with that because they just were not very successful. So that's a thing not to do. So those are the things that don't work. I'd like to say something about mordants. I don't know if any of you have ever done any dyeing at all, but a mordant is a very important part of the dyeing process. It sets the fastness, it determines the color, and it also opens up the fibers to accept the color that you're using. And so I tried using this with some of these basket reeds, and as I show you the samples, you'll be able to see the difference, what a difference it does make to use a mordant as opposed to not using a mordant. So sometimes I'll use an additive like copper or iron. Those are two other mordants. But I always start everything with alum. Alum is a really wonderful universal mordant. Like I said, it opens the fibers and it makes it color fast so it doesn't fade. And using mordants, alum mordants specifically for basket materials works great because it does all of those things. I have some samples that you'll see here where I have dyed some materials with alum and some without. And you can see the intenseness and the difference of the colors when I show you that. So let's see, I'm just gonna go on here and continue with some of the things that I've done. First I'm gonna start with some reeds, and I'll do my best to do the camera part, but these were all dyed buckthorn. So these are, if you can see the color of them, it's a very kind of a nice bright yellow. And these are, this was buckthorn. This one had no mordant. And this one had no mordant, and the others did. So it's a little bit of a difference. Can't really tell that much. And because these are open fibers in these reeds, they really love the dye. They went in there very easily. They have no surface, anything to protect the dye from going in. So these were buckthorn. Buckthorn is a great invasive species, as you are probably know.
Karen, I had a question. What part of the buckthorn plant are you using?
It's the bark. The bark.
Okay, great. And do you just peel it right off the buckthorn?
Yeah, what I do is I just chop up the branches, and we boil them. Cut the buckthorn up and put it in a pot and boil it forever. That's what we do.
So having the wood in with the bark seems to
yeah, it's just the whole thing. Berries are different. I tried picking berries once. It's a very difficult process to pick buckthorn berries. That would be a different kind of dye, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. It's called a fugitive dye. So I've done some dyeing of basket materials here with fugitive dyes, but not buckthorn berries. Buckthorn berries would be a different color. The buckthorn is the branch. Buckthorn also is a little bit like Old Sage orange, which is another dye stuff that I like to use because it's the same. It's the bark. It's the shavings from the bark. So that was the first one. That's the buckthorn. The next one I've got here to
Karen, did you want me to show that the photo of it?
Why don't you? Can you do that?
Karen took some great photos of her work and put it on a white background just because it can be a little hard to see on Zoom. So bear with me just a minute and I'm gonna share a photo of that. Oops, hang on 1 second here. Joking with my coworkers lately that there should really be a name for the face you make. Will you wait for your screen share to start? Which is what I'm doing right now.
Can you find it? I think it was.
Yep, I should be all set here.
Kind of towards the end. It's such a list.
Yep, you did. So let's see here. It's the yellow, right?
Yeah, it was a yellow one.
All right. Yeah, why don't you keep talking and I'll pull up this image for us here.
Okay. Yeah, because the next one that I'm going to show you is brazilwood. And again, this one is I get an extract of so it comes in powder form. It's just easier that way. Besides, brazilwood doesn't come from us. So I have a couple of samples. It's brazilwood that I used with a mordant, with an alum mordant. I don't know how well you can see this. It's really kind of a pretty peach color. And this one is the same thing without a mordant. Tell the difference, but perhaps you can. Hard to visualize this. Anyway, so one is lighter than the other. So this one has the alum mordant, this has nothing. That doesn't mean it won't work. That doesn't mean it won't. It's just a more intense color. And that's brazilwood.
I'll pull up those photos. Folks should be able to see. This is the buckthorn.
Okay.
All right, and then the brazilwood here is coming up. There you go.
Okay.
So there's a cleaner view of the with the alum and without the alum, correct?
Right, yeah, that's right. Yeah. It shows it better. I mean, I can hold it in front of the screen, but it's just, I took these photos yesterday outside. We'll be coming to Indigo. I'll be talking about that too.
Great. You can continue. I'll end the screen share here.
Okay, yeah, go back to me because you can go back to I've still got some more reads here first, and then we can go back to the Indigo because that's a different process.
Mm-hmm.
Indigo, okay. Okay, madder root. I'm going to show this one now. This is another one they use a lot on fabric and wool. Madder root is a good one. This is madder root with an alum mordant. Okay. You can see the color. I got all these ties in here to hold this stuff together, but. And here's some madder mordant. And you can see the difference.
Take you to soak these.
What's that?
Can you talk a little bit about the process, like how long the material is in the dye bath?
Oh yeah, there's a photo I sent you.
Yep.
You can bring up if you want at this point. Where the way I do it is I just first fill up a bucket with hot water and put my alum in, and I dilute the alum, and then I put that in a bin. I think that's that one. So it's like a wash bin. And so that's the alum, and I'll put what I want to dye in that like overnight and just let it soak. Normally, when you're using dyeing, I'm dyeing like cloth and silk and wool yarn, you can simmer it. You can simmer it in minutes in an alum on the stove for 20 minutes and then you're done. You've already treated it. But with this stuff, because you're not using heat, you don't want to boil this stuff, you know, and it would just dissolve. You'd end up cooking your reeds, and that's not good. So I found that the best way to just give it like 24 hours and just soak it overnight. I move it around every once in a while and then take it out of the alum bath and just leave it be. And then this photo that you're seeing right now is what I was doing when I used the blackberries. Now I have to show, I'll be showing you that later. This was the blackberry dye that I made with just boiling blackberries. So this is from that. So okay.
With the alum, huh?
Yes, there was alum. All of these things you're looking at were treated with alum, at least in the bin. Now, the other one, there's a white bucket there, and in that white bucket, I thought, you know, I had the mash from the blackberries. They had already been cooked, so it was kind of a grayish, reddish, whatever. And I'll show you that. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. This is what you see in the white bucket is this. So you can make that slide go away, Jessa, and bring it back. Yeah. So this is what was in the white bucket, and that was just like the junk, you know, the berries, which are sort of kind of gray, brown, blah, blah, blah. I had an extra piece of raffia hanging around. So I thought, oh, what the heck, I'll put it in. No, this is what I got. It's sort of pretty, kind of a brownish red. So that's the blackberries. Okay, so we're going back to the reeds again here. I got a lot of stuff to show. Today. All right, another one is one of my favorites. It's called Logwood. And look at the purple in this. This is just really a favorite. Powder form, and that's the only way you can get it, but it gives wonderful purples. This one was done an alum mordant. In other words, I soaked these first in mordant, in alum. And then this one, these had no mordant. So if you can kind of see the difference, maybe you can.
Yeah, you can. That's pretty striking.
You see, I mean, and what's sort of neat about this, if I was making a basket right now with this stuff, I could use both of them and they would go together. You know, they don't clash. They're all part of the color family. You know, if that makes any sense. You know, they're just hues, they're different values.
About how much alum do you add? Do you have a standard ratio that you use?
Well, yeah, there is, but I think for normally I would be using about a half a cup of powdered alum. That would do it just great for that black bin, and that would.
For how much? And how much water is in there then?
I don't know, about maybe 2 gallons.
Sure. So a half a cup of alum to 2 gallons of water is.
Yeah, and it's hot water. To dissolve it, I dissolve it first, and then once it cools down, that's when I put the basket stuff in it. And
so just so I understand, you heat the water with the alum and the dye stuff.
Yeah, okay, so I don't heat the water. I just use hot water from the tap.
Okay, got it.
Alum is a powder, and it dissolves very easily, very quickly.
Great.
So I just put it in a cup with some hot water and stir it up and then pour it in there, and then add more water to the thing, and it's just like making soup.
More like soup, less like a witch's cauldron.
You betcha, that's it.
Okay, got it.
So anyway, Logwood, a favorite color. Again, these are just some reeds that I tried with alum and without alum.
A couple people are having some audio trouble, so I just want to go over a couple of the things that you said to make sure people have got the right info.
Okay.
You don't need to boil the reeds with the dye, just soak them for about 24 hours.
That's right.
Great. And if you boil it, did you try that? What happens?
Well, I didn't try it because I know that, what happens is you would end up destroying the spring or whatever it is about the reed. It just didn't seem to work, and it didn't seem necessary to me. Plus the fact, you'd have them popping out of the pan, out of the jet. It's not like a wet skein of yarn that stays put.
Sure, it just lays there. And so, the Logwood was the one that made that purple, right?
Yes, that's
something that you order.
I buy it from a supplier that has natural plant dye extracts.
Okay.
So it's tree bark, but it comes from South America or someplace, and a little bit goes a very long way. A half a teaspoon is plenty.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the Logwood.
Great.
Okay.
Keep the questions coming. I know I know a few people are having a little audio trouble, so if you miss an important detail, by all means, chat it to us and we'll clarify. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll be glad to answer. Let's move on, Chow. You have a photo, if you want to bring it up, of indigo. Because I'd like to talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have 2 kinds of indigo here. I want to show you. This one, now, okay.
Hang on one second, I gotta get the right photo up.
Okay,
here.
she's looking for the indigo.
Indigo.
It's
there it is. And
there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the indigo. And there's 2 different kinds of indigo dye that I've used here. So go back to the live me and I can explain what they're about. But All right, this one, this thinner one, this was indigo. Again, indigo is a process. Anybody that's ever done indigo dyeing, you don't need a mordant. Indigo does not need a mordant. So it's a cool bath dye. I do it all the time when I'm doing natural plant dyes for wool and cloth and whatnot. So I just mixed up a batch with Spectralite and followed all the rules for indigo. And it's because it's a cool bath. It's a cool dye. You don't ever simmer indigo anyway. So I said, well, that'll work with basket material. So that was this one. But then I said, now wait a second. I've been messing around with earth pigments, as you know, Jessa. So I thought to myself, well, why don't I see what happens with indigo as an earth pigment? Well, it's not an earth pigment. It's a powdered. So I mixed indigo with soy milk. Well, now soy milk has to be mixed with earth pigments to make them soluble. So this has been painted with a combination of indigo and soy milk to get this dark blue. So this was dyed, if you call it dyed, with earth pigments. But the earth pigment really isn't the pigment. It's making it confusing. I mixed indigo powder with soy milk to make a paint.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Oh, all right. So if it makes any sense, soy milk and indigo this was painted with soy milk and indigo. Okay. And this was just
It's a 3-day class.
yeah, it's a different class. It was a different class. Messing around with earth pigments, you know about that, Jessa. So that's a whole different world. But I tried it with indigo and it worked. So okay. So there you go.
A couple of questions coming in, Karen.
Sure.
Do you use alum acetate or potassium aluminum sulfate?
I just use alum. What's the difference?
Good question. I don't know.
I just get, I buy alum. So I get I don't know, a gallon of the stuff. Because I use a lot in natural plant dyes.
Yeah.
So it's just a powder. It's just
yeah,
alum.
I think the alum sulfate is the one that you're referring to.
Yeah, I guess, I'm not a chemist.
Yeah, and Debbie pointed out that you can get most of the things that you're referencing at the Textile Center in Minneapolis, which is a great resource if folks don't know about it. They carry most of the powdered dyes as well as alum.
Yeah, I haven't been there while I don't know what they have. I generally just get my stuff from Earth Guild or from the Mulberry, which are, also those are out of town.
Lots of options.
So yeah, they have a lot of stuff. So those are that's okay. All right. Any more questions about that so far? Okay, moving on. Let's go to Raffia. I've been working on a basket for a while, and I like using Raffia to hold things together. So this is my little handful of Raffia. These are all dyed with buckthorn. Okay, how come? All right, this is the original buckthorn, if you can recognize the color. This was buckthorn with copper. Now, copper is also a mordant. It's not really a mordant in itself because it's more like an additive. So first I dyed these two with buckthorn. I took this one out and I added some copper salts, which is a mordant copper. It tends to green things, but that didn't work so well. So it does make it darker. Then this one was nothing. This was just unmordanted and just some used up buckthorn after a while. So I've got 3 different colors, same deal, same family, same dye, just different mordants.
Beautiful. Do you happen to have that basket with those 3?
Yes, I got that on my to-show list. That's sort of end. Okay.
It's beautiful.
Yes. So let's see, Mulberry. Mulberry is the next one. And
do you want me to share the photos of that, Karen?
yeah, I've got some.
Great.
Yeah, so why don't you bring those up and then I can show these.
Yeah, this is really beautiful stuff. Oops, that's the blackberry. I'm spoiling the. Here we go. Mulberry. There it is. And another one here.
Okay, good. All right, so this is the mulberry.
And this photo has black ash, right? And reed and raffia and silk, correct?
Yeah, this is I got crazy with my mulberries. Okay, so this is mulberry reed. Actually, the reason I got this, I bought a basket kit from someplace since I don't have a clue where to get some of this stuff. So I just bought a basket kit and had a nice collection of mulberries this spring or summer. So I said I'm going to dye a bunch of this stuff with mulberry. So this is the round reed. This is the flat. Okay. Then I've got even the handles on the supports. This is all mulberry. Here's
And can you talk a little bit about the volume of berries? Like, are you putting a quart of berries in? Kind of what is the ratio?
Oh, okay. I had about a gallon of mulberry juice, and it was very intense. So it was pretty dark. So I had about a gallon of juice, and I added some water to it to make this stuff get submerged. And I had it soaking. It soaked for maybe 24 hours or more, and it just sucked it up. I mean, it just really.
With the alum, right?
Yeah, the color. Yeah.
Yeah. And that
So then,
juice, did you just smush mulberries? Or
mulberries. So mulberries. I mean, I did the reeds first, and the
say that part again. I think it cut out a little bit.
Well, I did the mulberries first with the hard stuff, like these reeds. This is what I did first.
Yep.
And then there was space that I threw this in. And again, this is a lot like logwood, except it's. And then I also threw in a silk scarf just for fun. It goes around because I didn't teach any shibori this summer because there was no national class. But so this is mulberry. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about mulberry is what they call a fugitive dye, which means it stains your fingers. If you pick mulberries, your fingers turn blue. If you play with the blackberries, which is the other one I've got, your fingers turn blue. Same thing with like buckthorn. Anything that stains the concrete fingers is called a fugitive dye. And they work really well. You don't really need to use a mordant with them because they have so much color already. It's nice to use a mordant. I use alum with them anyway because then I could cover it won't fade and it opens up the fibers, and the color is true. Alum never changes the color. That's a neutral thing right there because alum it is what it is. It doesn't change the color. It just enhances the color that you're using. So mulberries, blackberries, big cherries, anything that stains your fingers is called a fugitive dye. So that's the difference between some of the other dyes that I use. Okay, any questions about that one?
Yeah, just so you used a gallon of mulberry juice. Did you pick the mulberries and then just macerate them to get
I just boil them and mash them.
Okay, do you have to strain it or did it work just as smushed up berries?
Say that again, what?
Did you have to do any other steps like strain the mulberries?
Well, yeah, after they had boiled, I strained out the solids.
Okay.
So you just had the liquid. And I did the same thing with the blackberries the other day.
I suppose you could kind of get speckles if you left some of the pulp in there.
Well, yeah, you get little pieces of fiber. So I showed this before.
Mhm.
This was done with what I would call a mash, or what was left over after I
Uh-huh.
strained it. So
Mhm.
then the last one I'm going to show you, if you want to bring up, this is the mulberries. No, not mulberries. This is black raspberries. Blackberries.
Blackberries, got it.
Blackberries. And I sent you a photo of blackberries.
Yep, I can pull those up.
Want to pull that one up?
There it is.
Yeah.
Folks can see that all right.
That's blackberries. Same thing, fugitive dye.
Yeah, here's another shot of that.
Yeah, that's a better one. And yes, I pre-did this. I put this stuff first in an alum bath. I soaked it overnight in alum.
You soaked the basket material overnight in
Yeah,
alum?
I did. All this stuff in alum the night before.
And then,
And then I strained the liquid, the boiled blackberries, and use it as a dye. Another blackberry. Oh, I don't think this. Blackberry. Yes, okay. You want to go back? All right, so we've got the blackberries. What's sort of neat about this stuff, it smells great. It smells really good. It smells like food. It smells like blackberries. This is blackberry also. What did I do with this one? I added some copper just for fun. So I had a little bit of copper, which is another mordant. It tends to change things in a greenish way, but it didn't work that way. So this is also blackberry. It's a little bit different. I don't know if you can see the difference in the color.
a little bit, it's a little bit pinkier.
Yeah, but they all go together. And then we always have this one. This was the one from the mash, from the mushed up berries that I had to wash it because I had pieces of berry in it. But it did color it a little bit. But this didn't have a mordant. This didn't get put in the alum. So this is was just lying around. I threw it in.
Sure, yeah.
So that's that. Any questions so far? Any more questions?
You want to show us some of that finished work that you've got?
Yeah, I am. I do. I don't know how we're doing for time.
We've got maybe about 10 minutes left.
Okay. I got two more show and tells here.
Okay.
All right, we talked about this once before, and I want to show you what doesn't work. These were dyed with earth pigments, and they weren't really dyed, they were painted.
And earth pigments are a product you can, like a clay and things like that you can purchase, right?
Right, and earth pigment. And earth
Yep.
obviously comes from the oil, from the earth, and it's soil of some sort. And in order to make a paint, you have to mix it with a protein. And the protein that you use I use soy milk. So soy milk is a protein. You can mix it with the earth pigment to create a paint or a dye, but it's not really a dye, but I use it on that indigo. So that worked okay, the soy milk and indigo combined. But this is just plain red earth pigment that I painted on these wreaths. I mean, it worked okay. It's just not as satisfactory as dyeing. So this was natural red. Here's some burnt umber. I mean, it's interesting. It's just not right. And then this one, I don't know what this one was. I can't remember. Kind of a blue black.
That earth pigment, sure.
So these three were all earth pigment.
Yep.
So it's something to play around with, and improve on. I'll work on that.
But it doesn't have quite that beauty of the berry dye ones.
No, it's not, it's okay. It's good. So I just have some quick little show and tells here. Some baskets. This one, I believe it was madder root. It came this way. I didn't weave it. So madder root. In other words, you can dye finished baskets, by the way, if you have the space. This one, buckthorn. This one, Logwood, which is sort of neat. So I have these 3 little colored baskets, all dyed just in natural dyes. This was buckthorn the other day.
And what's the basket material, do you know? Like a flat, is it flat reed?
I think it's some kind of flat reed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing I haven't showed you yet, and I don't want to forget to do that. I'll do that after I finish showing you these baskets. This is the one that you have on the cover there.
Yeah.
At the bottom was buckthorn.
I'm going to show a picture of that one. You keep talking because it's really stunning.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, do that.
And it's, yeah. So here's a little bit more color true pictures of the baskets Karen's been showing you. This one at the top is the one she's referring to. And here's a detail shot. You can keep talking, Karen.
Okay. All right. So again, I purchased this basket. And I wanted to try doing a blending kind of color thing instead of just one coat of color. So the bottom half, I used buckthorn, and the top half, I used the blackberries. And so first I did this, and then over this way. What's sort of neat to me is how you've got this blending in here, where you actually have 3 different colors or more. So I think that's sort of pretty. That's something you can do with a finished basket. So if you were to make a basket, a small basket, and you want multi-colors in it, you don't have to dye the reeds first. You could make the finished product first. And so this is the way it looks. I think it turned out quite nice. I like it.
It's very pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
process questions for you, Karen. One is, when you dye a finished basket, do you soak it in water first so that the uptake is more even, like you would with fabric?
Yes, I do. I soaked it. I wet it first, and then I put it in. I did alum these. So
Okay.
first I wet them, and then I put them in the alum and soaked them, and then out of the alum, and then in the dyes.
Yes.
So I know, I always have to wet it first, to soak the reeds so they work. So
yeah, so that the dye enters more evenly. And a couple of questions about if you've used black walnuts.
Yes, I do, but I haven't done any with this. The black walnuts are
maybe repeat that. The audio cut out a little bit.
Okay, yeah, black walnuts is great. I haven't done any samples to show you. Black walnut, that's a really good one because that's the.
Can you talk about the process and what part you use?
Yeah, the best part is the outer shell, the outer part. The nuts are hard to crack, obviously, but if you can get black walnuts when they fall off the tree and they're sometimes kind of green, let them ripen, and it's that black squishy outside. That's the stuff where the color comes from. That's the best if you can collect any black walnuts and save that. You can get them from the shells, of course, but it's a lot of bust them open.
And then that's another cold soak with alum?
Same thing, yeah. Same thing, same idea.
Got it. And what colors does that result in?
Pardon me?
What's the color palette of that one?
Brown.
Yep.
Oh, black, black walnut.
Really rich.
And again, it'll stay in your hands and your clothing and your sidewalk. Let's see, if 2 more things to show, and then I'll be almost finished.
All right.
But this is the basket you're talking about. This is the one I've been working on, and I'm not a basket maker. This is probably one of the first ones I've ever done. And this is using pine needles. And so you can see the process here. These are my, I use Florida lawn pines, and I showed you those before. So I dyed all the raffia for this. I've done, what is this one? This would be buckthorn, that madder root. Logwood is this one here. So it's kind of fun using for me, the raffia, because it's soft and it bends. And so this is my project, work in progress. I will keep weaving it until I probably won't, because I have a lot of materials left, but it's really fun. This one. So that's the basket thing. 2 more things to show you. You asked about this, Jessa. These are, and I think there's a photo of these. These are your ash. This is the black ash.
Yep, I can share a photo of that. I asked Karen because we work with a lot of different, we teach a lot of black ash classes, if she would mind messing around with that material, and got some really beautiful results here. Let me.
Yeah, some colors are better than others. We've got brazilwood, buckthorn. I think there's some indigo, logwood. So yeah, these it worked pretty well.
Yeah, that's really fun. I know there, I've seen a couple of different Anishinaabe basket makers who use color in their black ash weaving, and Clyde Etsy, who taught for us at last basket week, said, "Oh, people always ask me what I dye with, and the answer is RIT dyes because they work and they're easy and I can get them at the store." So it's fun to know that that natural dyes might be a possibility too for people who want to experiment.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And you know, any of the fugitive dyes, and again, there's a lot of stuff growing out there. You know, mushrooms will work. Lots of things that you can use to dye black ash. I like it because it's you know, so it really just sucked up the color very, very quickly. It's really kind of fun.
Nice.
So that's the black ash.
Wonderful. We have about 5 minutes left. Does anyone have other questions they'd like Karen to answer? Yeah, Karen, we've got a question coming in. What's the next experiment you have in mind? Is there a basket material or a dye that you're curious to try?
Not at the moment. I would like to get I'm going to be going, getting some black walnuts again, because I think it got into my black walnuts from last year. So I'm going to fool around with some black walnuts and some shagbark hickory, which is another
hickory. Wow.
Shagbark hickory. So I'm going to fool around with that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know,
yeah.
I'm stuck at home, so there's always something to do.
Something in the neighborhood. Speaking of, we have a real issue with tansy up here in the North Shore.
I know, but you know what? That's a great dye.
Have you experimented with that on baskets?
Not on baskets, but I've got plenty of it. You know, I've got a lot of dried tansy, goldenrod, all of those. I mean, I have all that stuff.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of basket materials are in that whitish yellow palette, so dyeing them yellow doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, but I know
quite as well. Yeah,
tansy, goldenrod, any of the yellow flowers work. The purple flowers will turn sort of gray, not really a lavender. So yeah, I know you've got somebody teaching invasive species dyes, but I've been using those for years. Buckthorn.
Yep.
You know, tansy, goldenrod.
Couple more questions coming in here. Do you dry your dye materials for storage, or do they need to be used green?
Either way. In the fall is when I usually gather materials, like I have hanging in a shed. I use paper bags, and I gather the materials and I put them in paper bags and hang them up high so they get some air. And I always dry them. I mean, you can use fresh or dried.
Okay.
I think fresh are a little more intense than dried, but you know, when in a pinch, they'll keep that way. Great.
Let's see, question about using orange hawkweed, or some people call it devil's paintbrush.
I don't have a source for that, but I think that would mostly work. A lot of wildflowers and prairie plants will work. I know Native Americans use that a lot. I've tried using big blue stem. That's not bad. It's not as intense as but it does work a little bit. Big blue stem, lead plant. I'm just thinking prairie flowers. Some of that stuff, it's just not as intense. But sometimes the subtle colors of nature are better, you know.
Yeah, especially together. And then for one last question here, does it matter the material of the pot that you boil in?
No. The only boiling that I've done recently were these, and I just use a metal kettle.
Right, but you wouldn't use like a cast iron pot because that
Oh,
could,
no, heck no, no.
but like an aluminum kettle or something pretty.
Aluminum, yeah, stainless steel. Actually, yeah, stainless steel is the best. I've had some aluminum pots that I've used in the past for dyeing, but they tend to get pitted. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a reaction or something, but I've turned to, like, you can buy these inexpensive canning pots that come with a lid in the grocery
Yep.
store sometime. That's a good deal. Or, thrift stores.
Yeah, I wonder if those are getting hard to get like all the other candy
That's a
supplies.
different place to find
Yeah,
them.
although it is probably important to point out that dye pots should be just dye pots and not food
Right,
pots.
you don't want to cook soup in
Yeah.
fancy, and I don't think that would be real healthy. Though it probably wouldn't hurt to.
Yeah. Well, Karen, thank you so much for showing us what you've been experimenting with. And I hope that the opportunity arises for you to be able to teach in person again at North House at some point here. And thanks to everybody for checking out what we're up to. I hope that you will join us tomorrow for the birch bark canister presentation. Thanks a lot for coming and have a great afternoon.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jessa.
Bye.
Keep on dying, whatever that means.
All right, Karen, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Thanks.
Okay, I'll do the same. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.